Good afternoon, good people. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast, season 3, incredible guests. And today is someone who I had the pleasure of sitting in and watching her work and command the room and how she greets people. Even if they come in late, she's still so open and so willing and so giving. Her interactive nature and how she brings everyone into the conversation, even if it's just her speaking, is just phenomenal. And when you hear her speak today and when you hear the work she's done and how she just sees people and how she navigates the world, you're going to know exactly why I had to get this individual in today. Hayley is the founder of Let's Talk Human Skills, a company on a mission to get people working well together and future-proofing their careers. She runs workplace training that combines research-backed ideas, real-life stories, and practical tools to help people develop 7 essential human skills: confidence, emotional intelligence, communication, collaboration, relationship building, ideation, and adaptability. Hayley has worked with organizations including ASOS, the King's Trust, and Manchester Metropolitan University. She's also the host of Let's Talk, an in-person conversation series designed for us to experience the human connection we are all missing out on. Ladies and gentlemen, give a thunderous applause to Hayley Dawson. Hayley, how are you?
Hi, that was so kind. That was such a lovely introduction. Thank you. And I'm well. How are you?
Very well, very well. I mean, I'm only giving the introduction that is the truth. You know, when I came to your workshop the other day, and I was actually the one who came in late.
You were.
And you came up to me and you said, "Hey, I'm Hayley. What's your name?" I said, "I'm Calvin. It's so nice to meet you, and thank you for coming." And I was just like, "That's never ever been done before."
Oh,
So to see that in person and to see how you navigate the room and to see how you push people, not in a bad way, but you push people to speak about their dreams and speak about their goals and really, voice the very thing that is deep within us. So yeah, it was amazing.
thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was great. So great. So today, Hayley, I know we've spoken about, you know, the big five. And that was something that we said, okay, this is what we're going to speak about. So, can you briefly explain to the listeners what the big five personality traits are and who, who might not be familiar about them? Can you give us just the scope of what that is?
Sure. So the Big Five is a personality model. It's a science-backed personality model, right? And it describes human personality in terms of 5 traits. So we've got openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And it's also known as Ocean, which is the first letter of each of those traits. And it's considered one of the most reliable ways to assess personality traits in the workplace. And it's based on the idea that these 5 traits are relatively stable throughout a person's life and can help explain their behaviors and their actions as well. And within each trait, you can rate yourself as high, medium, or low. So, for example, and we'll talk about it, but openness is how you approach ideas. And a high open person would be curious and inventive and love fresh ideas to try out. But a low open person would be more cautious and think, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so, if you have a high open person and a low open person working together, they're going to clash in certain ways. So, being aware of where you rate yourself in these 5 traits and observing other people and their traits can really help you in the workplace. I sort of approach it from collaboration, right? Collaboration is one of the 7 human skills I teach. And the big 5 is so, so important for collaboration. Think of it as being an easy person to work with and how you can make yourself an easy person to work with.
Yeah.
Because we all know what it's like to work with a difficult person, don't we? They're impatient, they're full of worry, they're bossy, they're always nitpicking and asking questions. They're too detailed. They don't let you breathe and just do your job, right?
Yeah.
And so it's easy to think, you're not a difficult person to work with. But the reality is anyone can be a difficult person to work with in any situation, even you, even me. And I teach human skills.
Yeah.
So to avoid ever being that difficult person to work with, we need to have a deep understanding of ourselves and others and how we will react to and deal with different situations in the workplace. And that's where the big five comes in and sits perfectly within collaboration
Yeah.
as a human skill, you know?
That sounds so, I mean, for me, I've never really tapped into the big five in the way you've explained it. So to hear you give us the deep dive into it and ocean and all these different things and personality traits that we may see but don't fully understand is, yeah, thank you so much for highlighting that. You mentioned there being like a tier when it comes to each of these personality traits. If I was to ask you, Hayley, what would your one be? If I was to ask you in terms of what's your numbers on those things? I would love to know.
Yeah. So, and I can mention this as we walk through them as well, but I am high on openness. So I love new ideas and experimenting and getting curious and creative. I'm medium conscientiousness. I like the detail. Things have to be right, things have to be correct, but I can also go big picture and know when detail isn't necessary and when it hinders us. Extroversion, I'm an extrovert, but I'm a considered extrovert and I can pull back when I think I'm in front of an introvert, which I suspect I am now, or I can go more full throttle if I'm with an extrovert or if the situation requires it. Then A is agreeableness. So I'm high on agreeableness. I'm highly agreeable. And N is neuroticism. I'm low on neuroticism. I used to be high and worry a lot. And again, this will make sense when we walk through them. But now I often don't understand what the worry is about. I sort of look around the room and I think, why is everyone so worried about this? This isn't a big deal. So that's where I am with them.
That's what you are. How did you know I was an introvert?
I don't know. I've got this kind of like X-ray vision. I don't know if it's a sixth sense or something, but I can read people and I am pulling back my extroversion because I can just sense that you're an introvert. So was I correct?
You're very correct.
Okay.
You were super correct. When you said it, I was just like, how did she know that? But please don't hold back your extrovertedness out in the podcast. Give us everything. Going into a deeper dive, Hayley, could you walk us through each trait for the listeners, please?
Of course. And as I walk through this, it would be really helpful actually for people listening to think about a difficult person that you work with. Like, have that difficult person in your head. We've all got one. You might have five, you might have one, but just like maybe think of them. So the first one, I mean, we'll go through them in order. Openness, right? So, openness is how you approach ideas. Are you innovative and curious, or are you cautious and unchanging, right? So, a high openness person likes experimenting with new ideas. They're not afraid of the unknown, and they'll become difficult when they are forced to follow tradition or habit. And a low openness person is the opposite. They like things that don't change. They like predictability and routine. And they'll be difficult when they're forced into something new or something that's changing all of the time.
Yeah.
So if you think about your difficult person to work with, are you unintentionally forcing them to work in a way that they don't like? Are you forcing them to work in a way that they find difficult? Are you unintentionally challenging their level of openness, right? That's a really important question to ask with openness. Are you unintentionally challenging someone else's openness? Where are you on openness, Calvin?
Where am I on openness? That's a very good question. Am I an open person? It depends. It depends on, I guess, how much I feel safe with someone, or if I can feel if our conversation is of a nurturing aspect, or if it's extraction that's harmful. So it just depends. But I'm open in terms of, if I meet you, then, kindness and care will always be shown firsthand. But I will probably hold back just a bit of myself, only because I don't know who I'm in the midst of yet. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's interesting. You see, because openness is how we approach our ideas, right? We either approach them with curiosity and innovation, or we approach them with a lot of caution. So, a high open person would really appreciate little moments of newness throughout the work week. And they're good at leading on changes and researching new things. So, a low open person would appreciate order and would appreciate things to stay the same.
Yeah.
They're good at taking on things that need to be done routinely every week.
Hmm. Okay. If you're saying it from that perspective, then in the work aspect, then I would definitely say I'm someone who loves change. I love to see new things. I love to be challenged. I like to learn. I can't be in a loop or doing the same thing over and over again, because it doesn't sit well with me. And I really do enjoy just learning new things and taking charge of new things and seeing other people grow as well as myself.
Yeah. So, I'd say you're high open then. I reckon you're high open. Yeah. And, if you rate yourself high on openness, tell the people around you for your love of new experiences and of challenges. And if someone's listening, because we're both high openness, I'd say if someone's low on openness, let others know that you thrive in familiar environments and you prefer gradual change as opposed to everything changing at once. Because if that happens, a low open person will become difficult, just because of the situation they find themselves in. It doesn't match their level of openness.
Yeah. How important is that, Haley, to voice these things? Because I'm not sure if everyone does, or if they feel confident enough to do it, or the environment, encourages that. So how does one go about, I guess, sharing this with people that they work with or who they're surrounded by?
Yeah, it's so important to voice it. It really is because we think about ourselves a lot, don't we? And we just think, oh, well, if I like this, that person will like this too. We're pretty similar. Maybe not. Maybe someone's approach to tasks in the workplace is completely different to you. Maybe someone's level of extroversion is completely different to yours. Maybe deep down, someone is highly neurotic and worries a lot, and you don't understand their worry. And so it's really, really important to voice what you like and how you like to work and what makes you an easy person to work with as well. That's really important to voice, especially when we're thinking about, yeah, in like a professional environment as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And the second trait.
Yeah, so the second trait, bear with me with the second trait because I pronounce it differently every single time. Conscientiousness. And I will try to say it as little as possible. So, conscientiousness is how you approach planning. Are you efficient and meticulous, or are you scatty and extravagant? Right? Now, a high conscientious person loves to do lists and scheduling and Gantt charts.
Yeah.
They will become difficult when they don't have structure. If they get on a call without an agenda, no, their mind's gone. You've lost them already. They're high conscientious, there's no agenda there. Low conscientious person is more flexible. They hate detail, they prefer big picture ideas, they don't want to be tied down by a schedule either. And so low conscientious people will become difficult to work with when there are too many details and instructions coming their way, bogging them down. So that's another question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we high conscientious or low? So do we prefer the details or not? And what about the people around you? Are you intentionally challenging somebody's level of conscientiousness? Where are you on that? Are you high or low conscientious?
I definitely love the details, for sure. And I definitely like to challenge people around me, because when you can see someone's potential and that they can, reach another level in the terms of whatever the project is or whatever we're working on, or their insight. So yeah, I would definitely say, because you said that's a high conscientious, right?
You see, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, that's high. Yeah, I would say you're high then. If you like detail and if you don't mind challenging people, I would say you're high conscientious. Yeah, again, like me. We might come out the same on this apart from the levels of extroversion.
Yeah.
But it's, if you rate yourself high on conscientiousness, you need to communicate your need for structure. You're someone who needs to try to be patient with people who are less organized than you are because it's not their natural strength. And then if you rate yourself low on conscientiousness, you need to communicate your need for flexibility and then try to be patient with people who do need structure.
Yeah.
So you can see why this is important for working with other people and in teams and collaboration as well, right?
It's very important.
Yeah.
And the third trait.
So the third is extroversion, and this is how you approach people and social situations. So are you outgoing or are you more reserved, right? And
Yeah.
the difference between high extroversion and low extroversion. I mean, we call people with high extroversion extroverts, and they prefer teamwork, collaborative work, open office space. And, they don't mind an unannounced social drop in or someone just coming by their desk without a meeting in the diary. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But extroverts can become quite difficult when they feel lonely. And then we call people with low extroversion introverts. They prefer working alone, quiet work, space, and prepared, scheduled social time. And they know when it's happening. They can prepare their energy levels for it. And introverts will become difficult when they feel overwhelmed by people. How does that sit with you?
It's fine. Well, I mean, this is tough because when I am in a space full of people, I can be outgoing and, hold space for people and talk and be amongst everyone. But there is moments where I do like my space and I do like to be, on my own and do things on my own as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Okay. And even down to the work I do as a therapist. So I'm going to say I'm definitely an introvert, 100%
Yeah.
true. Yeah. I like my space. I like to know when things are happening in terms of scheduled aspects, and I like to work on my own.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And do you know what you said about being in a room with people and you can come alive at
Yeah.
that point, right? And do you know what? I think that introverts are brilliant at building relationships and at networking, if we think about it in a professional context, for example, because I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I ran a human skills workshop, and during the workshop, someone said, Hayley, I'm an introvert, so I don't think I'm good at networking. And I had some really strong thoughts on this, right? Because networking is a skill that you can develop.
Yeah.
It falls under relationship building, which is one of the 7 human skills I teach. And over the past 2 years, I've been to over 50 events and now host my own in-person conversation series, which you've been to. And I've observed through all of this that extroverts don't always make the best networkers. People think they do, and introverts think, oh, no, I'm not very good at this. But actually, extroverts can fall into the trap of rushing to meet everyone and then truly connecting with no one, of dominating the conversation, of pitching too early, of selling too soon, right? But introverts make amazing networkers because they engage in fewer but more meaningful conversations, and they listen deeply and they learn about others and they ask really thoughtful and considered questions. So, when we think about extroversion and our levels of extroversion, the loudest person in the room doesn't win. The most thoughtful and the most considered person in the room wins. And that's usually an introvert. This is no shade to extroverts. I'm an extrovert. I'm just a considered extrovert and a thoughtful extrovert. I'm thoughtful in my actions. And I can quite easily see, as I said at the start, I can easily see where and when to pull back on my extroversion and when I need to ramp it up as well, depending on the person I'm in front of, depending on the situation I'm in. But introverts can be your great networkers.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. It really gives for me as well, just the context in terms of being an introvert and, as you said, being able to build a relationship or network and hold space for other people. And just the breakdown of both extrovert and introvert. And yeah, that's very powerful. It gives so much to think about just moving forward now. So thank you, Hayley.
Yeah, of course. And if you're someone who rates yourself high in extroversion,
Yeah.
then find opportunities to engage with other people, but also be mindful that not everyone gets energy from being in social settings.
That's so
So if someone seems a bit off, they might not be off with you. They might just be off with the energy you've come at them with, right?
true.
And then if you rate yourself low on extroversion, so if you're an introvert, focus on the people who energize you and prioritize slower and more meaningful connections. There'll never be anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Agreeableness, Hayley.
Mm.
That's the next trait, right?
Yes, that's the next trait. So, agreeableness is how you approach teamwork. Are you compassionate, easygoing, understanding, or are you more judgmental, critical? Now, the difference between a high agreeableness and low agreeableness person is that a highly agreeable person is considerate and kind and sympathetic towards others. And they're great at team building and cooperation. They can also be people pleasers. A highly agreeable person is someone so imagine someone at work needs feedback giving to them. A highly agreeable person will try to deliver 5 good positive points about the work. Then they'll deliver the negative point, and then they'll deliver some more positive points, right? And we all know what that's called. But they can also become difficult. Highly agreeable people can also become difficult when you enable their people pleasing.
Yeah.
So when you ask them to do a task, they'll say yes without thinking about whether they have enough time. And you accidentally enable their people pleasing. And now they can't do anything because they've got way too much to do because they've said yes to everything.
Yeah.
That used to be me. That's not me anymore. A low agreeable person is more of a challenger. So if we think about that feedback situation, if you're a low agreeable person and you have to give feedback to someone in the workplace, you're more likely to lean towards your judgmental, critical side. You'll approach it in that way. You won't try to sweeten it with positive things either side, right? So a low agreeable person is a challenger and are usually unbiased. They want unbiased opinions, sorry. They're analytical and they want research to back things up. They like data. And low agreeable people will usually default to no. And they'll become difficult when you are maybe trying to push something on them and they haven't had enough time to make up their own mind. They haven't had enough time to think about this themselves, to do their own research. They want to make their own opinion. And if you force a low agreeable person into an opinion, they'll become difficult because they didn't go through the options or think through the options themselves. So you can see the difference between high agreeable and low agreeable, right?
Yes.
What are you?
What am I? I'm going to definitely say hi.
Okay.
For sure. Definitely the people pleasing has been a part of my life that I've slowly stepped away from. Yeah. I'm going to say definitely hi.
Okay. I think I'm more medium here. I used to be highly, highly agreeable, super, super little miss people pleaser, would only ever tell people what they wanted to hear. I used to say yes to everything under the sun and, to my own detriment because then I had time to do nothing and couldn't get anything done properly.
Yeah.
But now I'm more in the middle and I'm not low on agreeableness because I can be critical and I can be judgmental.
Yeah.
But that's not what I default to. So I think I'm in the middle for this one, for sure.
I do. I think I'm on my way to being in the middle.
Okay. Nice balance.
Nice balance.
But if you're high in agreeableness, prioritizing other people's needs comes naturally. But in the workplace, especially, it's really important to set boundaries to make sure that your kindness isn't taken for granted.
Definitely. That's been a continual lesson my entire, or should I say, since my journey of autonomy began. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, if someone's listening and they rate themselves low in agreeableness, empathy might not come naturally to you. So it's important to try to understand and see things from another person's perspective as well. Maybe if everyone tries to sort of push themselves into the middle.
Yeah. Into the medium
That
aspects.
would be a nice workplace to work in.
It really would.
Mm.
Hayley, neuroticism.
Yes, so this is the fifth and final one. So neuroticism is how you approach worry. So are you sensitive and nervous, or are you more confident and resilient? So the difference between high neuroticism and low neuroticism is a high neurotic person is reactive. They are worriers at heart. They can't help but worry. They like to think through all possible options, all of the advantages and disadvantages before making a decision. And it's almost as though they think that worry will prevent failure from happening.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That's not always the case, but they think that worry prevents failure. And a high neurotic person will become difficult when they're afraid because they're thinking, oh my God, what's going to go wrong next?
Mm.
A low neurotic person is more resilient in this respect. They're more hands off, they're calmer, more stable, more laid back as well. And they think that worry is a waste of time. And a low neurotic person will become difficult. They'll become a difficult person to work with when they don't understand what everybody is worried about, or they don't understand the fear. And they're sat there thinking, why is everyone so worried? Why are people so worried? So a high neurotic person needs to worry about everything beforehand and try to prevent a crisis. And, it's important to observe people in these situations and try to identify how they worry. Some people talk a lot. Some people need more time to process. Some people sit in a corner and stay really, really quiet. Some people hide away. But whatever way, like your coworker worries, it is important to give a high neurotic person time to do that. It's important to give them time to worry.
Yes.
On the other end, a low neurotic person will be stable and calm during a crisis. And this is the type of person that you want to be leading a crisis, calming people down, being the stable rock that people can rely on, right? And I don't know why, but you're giving me low neurotic vibes.
Hayley, when you got to the point where you was going to ask me which one, that's literally what I was going to say.
Yes. Okay.
I'm just like, how does she
I
know?
can see it. I can see it. Yeah.
Talk to me on that, Hayley, like, because you have this gift, this sixth sense that you mentioned. How do you manage it? How do you manage those things, knowing or sensing that their traits may be, I guess, opposite to your own?
Yeah. So I love this question. I'm really adaptable.
Yeah.
I'm like a chameleon, right? So if I am working with somebody who isn't open to change, but I am, and I love all of the newness and the new stuff and have shiny object syndrome all the time, I know that it's important to introduce change and newness really slowly for the person in front of me, right? I know that it's important to just introduce a tiny nugget of change, but also explain that these are all of the things that are not changing, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm working with somebody who secretly I cannot stand working with people who are scatty and they are low conscientiousness. I can deal with it, but I really, really dislike it. And it's about you know, in that kind of situation, it's like, okay, I'm very clearly high conscientious here. This person's very low conscientious. There's no right or wrong way of being. I need to make that super clear.
Yeah.
So no shade to the low conscientious people. There's no right or wrong way. But I think, okay, I need to get to the point incredibly quickly here. I need to filter through the details that I think are important, because this person's only going to think that 10% of what I'm saying to them is important right now, right?
Okay.
So if I'm, I don't know, for example, emailing someone who I know is low conscientious, I will summarize the 500 words I want to say into 2 sentences, and I'll give them 3 to 5 bullet points, and I'll put a really clear question at the end with a deadline of when I need the answer to that question, right? It's all about knowing how other people would rate themselves. Or, you know, if you are a high conscientious person, you'll be able to spot other high conscientious people too. And you'll be able to spot low conscientious people too. That's easy because they're the difficult people to work with for you. And it's all about thinking, okay, how can I be adaptable here? How can I be a bit of a chameleon from person to person?
Yeah.
Without losing what you need. If you need detail, you need detail. And you need to tell people you need detail, you know? But also trying to sort of meet other people where they are as well. And that's why this big 5 is so important to understand. It's really important to understand where you rate yourself and where other people rate themselves as well, right? Because then you can mold and adapt in the workplace.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Hayley. And that segues nicely into this next part where it says, are these traits stable over a lifetime, or can they change with time and experience?
So the big 5 is based on an idea that these 5 traits are relatively stable throughout a person's life, throughout adulthood.
Yeah.
And it can help explain behaviors and actions, but they're not totally fixed. And there are some studies that have shown that they can change with age or life experience or societal influences, for example. So there are some studies that have shown that agreeableness and conscientiousness tend to increase with age.
Yeah.
And extroversion and openness tend to decrease with age. And that shows me that the older we get, the more careful we become.
Mm.
You know, the less agreeable we become, the more critical we become, the more judgmental we become, the more big picture we become. But then we also become more shielded,
Yeah.
quieter in social settings, and we become less open to change as well. And I don't know about you if you have elderly people in your life, but I don't anymore. But a few years ago, when I had elderly people in my life, yeah, like that, I think that's the case. Yeah. Less agreeable, less open. Yeah. It's interesting.
Very interesting.
The more older we get, I think the more careful we become.
Is that based upon someone, I guess, seeing someone obviously transition from being young to seeing them getting older, to seeing them, no longer be here, even if it's in the workplace, or knowing a colleague who was, always zipping around the office and always had this high energy and always was someone who people could rely on, and then something happens and it shifts their whole perspective and their whole life. Is there stuff like that changes that outcome? Because you said, as we grow older, we become more cautious, more aware, more kind of taking it even slower than we did before.
Yeah, I think that does come into it because that would sit sort of under life experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the research has shown that, yeah, these traits can change depending on life experience as well.
Yeah.
But also thinking about the workplace. I don't know about you, but so I've been working for 16 years now.
Yeah.
Which is half my life. I'm 32 now. I've been working for 16 years. And I have become less agreeable over the years. I have become, I said I'm medium on agreeableness. I've become less of a people pleaser for sure, a bit more critical, a bit more judgmental, but I know how to deliver it, you know? And I think that comes from knowledge, from a level of knowledge that you pick up as you go through your career, right? And conscientiousness, the studies show that tends to increase with age. So yeah, I think I am much more conscientious now as I was at the start of my career. I can think big picture, but I know how important the details are, for example. So I think it comes with maybe work experience as well.
Experience and life experience. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Hayley, how can understanding our own big five scores help us in daily life, relationships, or career choices?
So, a really important part of career success is how you fit with your company's culture, mission, work environment, core values, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And knowing your big five composition can help you find a working environment that suits you. So if you're high in openness, you're likely to appreciate something that allows you to explore. That maybe could be something in travel, or it could be research if you like experimenting, and especially if you're conscientious as well for research. And if you're high in conscientiousness, you'll probably enjoy the detail of being an accountant, right? If you're high in extroversion, you'll probably be suited to jobs where you need to interact with people a lot.
Yeah.
Think being a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, you know? I know I'm dishing these job titles out here off the top of my head. And we're so much more than our work, we're so much more than our job titles, I know. But I guess it's to show that knowing where you sit with each of these traits can help you to understand as well what you're best suited to, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not only helpful for career, but life as well, like daily life, relationships. I recently went on a holiday with my mum, and towards the end of the holiday, I told her that she was highly neurotic. And she's going to end up listening to this again because she listens to all of my work and everything that I do. But I told her that she was highly neurotic, and it was just in a moment where she was worrying so much, right? And I remember she looked at me as if to say, Hayley, are you joking right now? And I just had to explain that, you know, being highly neurotic isn't necessarily a bad thing. A highly neurotic person will worry a lot. That can be bad, but they also like to think through all of the pros and cons, all of the advantages and disadvantages, anything that could possibly go wrong to prevent failure, right?
Yeah.
But I'm usually sat there thinking, and on holiday in that moment, I was sat there thinking, why are we worried about this thing again? I don't understand the worry. I don't understand the fear here. So even in your personal life, knowing where you sit with each of these traits and the people around you that you love, where they sit within each of these traits as well, I think it can help it can help avoiding arguments. It can help a lot of unnecessary blow ups as well with the people that you love, right? I'm just like, it's my mum. She worries a lot. I don't. It's fine. We're going to clash in that respect, right?
I love how you mentioned, your mum is always listening to every single piece of work you've done, and
Oh my God, number one supporter.
that's amazing. I really love that. Haley, are there certain traits more desirable depending on the context, like leadership, creativity, or teamwork?
Yeah. So let's take leadership. I think it's important for a leader, for example, to be open
Yeah.
and welcome new ideas, to be conscientious enough, but also know that there are other people who are probably better at the detail at this point than you are. If
Yeah.
you're a leader, you're likely to be more big picture at this stage. And to be low neurotic as well, because you want a leader to be stable and calm during a crisis, after a crisis, right? So it can be, yeah, there are some traits that I would say for the workplace, especially are more desirable depending on your role or the context. If we think of teamwork, for example, you're looking at agreeableness, right? How compassionate you are, how judgmental you are, how you give and deliver feedback. And to be honest, the whole big five is important for teamwork because it helps you to understand where you sit within each trait and where everyone else sits as well.
Yeah.
And you can understand that if you observe people enough at work and if you observe yourself at work as well. But all of it is important for like the context of teamwork, for example.
Yeah. Teamwork. Just because that was the last thing you mentioned. How important is it?
Oh my God, so important. It's one of the most important things in the workplace. Look, we're in a time where advances in tech and AI are so rapid right now. We can use it as a thinking partner. We can use it to create all sorts of different incredible things. We can use it to save so much time as well. And I think especially when we think about the time-saving aspect of what tech is providing us right now, instead of using it to churn out more and more and more work and be more and more and more productive, we should actually be spending that extra time that tech is saving us with the people we work with,
Yeah.
with increasing or just improving the way that we work with each other, improving the way that we work as a team, improving the way that we work on our own and with ourselves as well. You know, human skills aren't just about the way that you work with other people, they're the way that you work with yourself too. And so I just think that we are approaching a time, we're kind of there already, where tech and AI are saving us hours and hours and hours every week. And I think we need to invest that time into the people that we work with and rest as well.
Yeah.
But the people that we work with and teamwork. Yeah. Your teamwork will make or break an organization. It will make or break a project.
Yeah.
It all comes down to how well you work with other people. Teamwork is huge. And that's exactly why collaboration, which is teamwork, is one of the 7 essential human skills as well.
Yeah. Hayley, we're going to have to probably do part 2 where you actually speak about those skills. That would be lovely.
7 parts.
Let's do it. Hayley, is it possible or healthy to try and change aspects of your Big 5 profile intentionally?
So you can change aspects of the way that you work through intentional effort.
Yeah.
For example, if you're low on openness and you realize that you're a person who doesn't like change or newness or experimentation, well, that's something you can gradually change at work. Experiment with one new thing per week and keep everything else the same, for example. Or try a new place for lunch instead of going to the same place for your work lunch with your colleagues every day. You can introduce these really small changes that become big changes over time. So I know that's just one example with openness, but you know, it's an example of how you can change aspects of your Big 5 for sure. Yeah. And like me with extroversion, you know, I am an extrovert, but I'm a thoughtful and considered extrovert who can adapt to different people and different situations and what something is requiring of me and the energy it's requiring of me as well. So it's all about being adaptable and just knowing what is required in the moment for this specific task or project or person or organization even.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. What is required for this task, this person, this situation, this environment? I like that. Hayley, are there any major criticisms or misconceptions about the Big 5 model that you'd like to address?
Yeah, so I mean, with anything, there are criticisms always. There are always limitations to research and science as well, right? And they're usually endless. But for the Big 5, so some people have said that it's oversimplified and that it's too broad to truly capture the nuances of individual personality.
Yeah.
And that's probably true within personality psychology. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a personality psychologist, but I think the Big 5 definitely tells us enough to make ourselves easy people to work with. Like, look at everything we've gone through today and how that can help us with collaboration, with teamwork, with relationship building, you know? So, yeah, it's been criticized for being oversimplified, and it might be. I don't have the expertise to judge that, but I do know that it's become a really important part of teaching human skills for the workplace, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mm. And I've read about some cultural biases as well. So some people have argued that the Big Five model is biased towards Western individualistic cultures
Yeah.
and that it doesn't accurately represent personality in other cultures. But again, I'm not a personality psychologist, so I
Yeah.
can't sort of comment further on it. But that is something that has come up as well. But then again, if you're working in a Western culture or you are from a Western society, then this is something that would be incredibly helpful as well.
Hayley, for someone curious about their own personality, what's the best first step they should take?
Mm. So I think the best first step is thinking about everything that we've spoken about today, especially towards the start where we walked through or the bulk of this conversation, I guess, where we walked through the 5 traits, right? Spend a few weeks at work observing yourself and the way that you work and observing your co-workers and the way that they work as well. Are you high or low openness? Are they high or low openness? And go through the traits, right? What can you see happening around you? Because you can start to make sense of this by asking yourself, how do you respond to new things and change? Or how do your co-workers respond? And rate yourself and rate your co-workers, probably without telling them, right? And do that for each of the 5 traits. Observe yourself and get a better understanding of yourself and the way that you work, and do the same with others as well. And you'll likely notice some really interesting differences. You'll likely notice more differences with the people that you find difficult to work with. You'll probably find that you are on opposite ends of each of these traits if you find someone difficult to work with. And you know what? If you find them difficult to work with and you think you're opposite on these traits, they probably find you difficult to work with as well.
Yeah.
So actually, you're both the difficult people in the situation. So I would say as a first step, observe as much as you possibly can. Yeah.
Amazing. Hayley, someone's heard you today. Where can listeners find more of your work or connect with you after this episode?
Sure, I'd love to hear from people all the time. It must be the extrovert in me. But I'm on LinkedIn, Hayley Dawson. It's Hayley. Everybody spells it wrong, and I don't know why. Or on Instagram as Let's Talk Human Skills. And you can also find out about the workplace training I deliver at letstalkhumanskills.com. So I deliver tons of workplace training that gets people working well together and future-proofing their careers as well. And everything I do is based on those 7 essential human skills. So the confidence, the emotional intelligence, communication, collaboration, which we've gone through today, relationship building, ideation, adaptability. They're all really, really essential for the work that we do now and the future as well. So yeah, I can train your team if you want me to.
Can you read minds? Because I don't know how you was able to say that, and that was exactly what I was thinking.
Really? Maybe I can. I do think I've got this kind of X-ray vision thing going on. I didn't realize I could do it through a screen because we're not in person right now.
You literally said exactly what I was saying. I literally was thinking, you know what, when I start, then you just said it.
Well, there we go. Wow.
Hayley, before you go, I always do this with my guests, is I throw some fun rapid questions just so the listeners can get to know you better. Is that okay?
It's good. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. If you could work anywhere remotely, Hayley, where would it be and why?
Madrid, favorite city in the world. Lived there for a year. Absolutely love it. Madrid, every day.
What's your favorite season?
Ooh, summer. I'm a summer baby.
Okay. Do you have a favorite cuisine?
Tapas.
Okay. Favorite book or film and why?
Oh, my favorite book is Olive by Emma Gannon. It's a fictional book and it's all about living a child-free life. And film, I don't think I have a favorite film. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Do you have a favorite song?
Don't think I do. No. Genre, yeah. I mean, like I love a bit of R&B, reggaeton, but it's expected with the whole Spanish thing. So
Yeah. Okay. Yes to the R&B. Um, do you have a favorite quote?
yes, I do. It's by a Harvard professor called Dr. Ellen Langer. And this quote really, really helped me when I was deciding whether to start a company, quit my job, build Let's Talk Human Skills or not, or just leave it as a dream. And I heard Dr. Ellen Langer say, make a decision and then make a decision right.
Oh,
You make the decision first and then you make it right. You can't make a right or wrong decision. I love that one.
okay. And last question, because you are in human skills, I should say you're a human skills expert, if that's the correct term. Sorry if it's not. Um, if it wasn't for human skills or what you're doing now, Hayley, what would you be doing?
I would still be pursuing some kind of portfolio career with different interests. To be honest, I would probably still be a Spanish translator and subtitler and a researcher as well. Yeah, because I also had an 9-year research career, which I've now brought over to Let's Talk Human Skills. So I would probably be a translator slash researcher still. Yeah.
And this is actually the last one now. Hayley, for someone who is literally about to embark on the visions, the ideas, the things that they say in their mind, what advice would you give to them today in terms of just stepping out and taking that leap of faith like you did?
Plan less, act more. Those 4 words, plan less, act more. We can get so caught up in planning and researching and thinking and dreaming, but plans create plans. That's all they create, right? If you act more and you keep moving, I hate the phrase moving the needle because I hate needles, but if you keep doing that, if you keep acting more, you're making these teeny tiny steps towards what you want.
Yeah.
Planning is important, but plans don't get you to where you want to be. They just live as a dream, right? So plan less, act more.
Plan less, act more. You've heard it here first, listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast. We have had the amazing, I mean, what can we say? It's been such an episode, but we've had the phenomenal Hayley Dawson with us today. Please go and check out her work. Please go and get her to come and train your workforce. Please get in contact with her because she knows exactly what she's talking about. Take care. Speak soon. God bless.